We are moving on to our next story here. And this one is about Russell Brand. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but even after the Twitter files revealed damning information about government agencies basically telling Twitter executives who they could keep on the platform, what they should remove, who they should suppress, even after all that information has come out, even after Elon Musk has done actually a couple of interviews to back that information, there are still some mainstream media outlets that are still continuing to consider these things to be conspiracies. And one of the most pressing stories that they still refuse to admit is truthful is the Hunter Biden laptop story. So people like Russell Brand are being smeared. Of course, Elon Musk is being smeared. But I want you to hear what Russell Brand has to say about this. I think this is an interesting conversation. It's called That's Bullshit. Elon just revealed this. Listen to this.
Elon Musk has been spouting a lot of conspiracy theories about powerful individuals influencing political parties with money and a media that don't report stuff that's integral when it comes to your understanding of the political process. So who do you trust? Elon Musk or the mainstream media? Let me know, baby. Hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage to truth and freedom. Together we will scrutinize this data. Together we will pick the bones of truth from the carcass of a dying world. Elon Musk has been on the mainstream media since his acquisition of Twitter, and while many of you might have questions about his new CEO appointment, someone who's once worked with the WEF, he still certainly riles the mainstream, whether it's talking about donations to the Democrat Party, stories that are censored, information about the Bidens that's kept out of the mainstream. Many of these tales appear to be designed to provoke the Democrat liberal establishment, and yet Elon Musk, as you know, I'm sure, voted for Joe Biden in the last election, the poor old wrinkly lovable old sod. So let's have a look at Elon Musk live with the mainstream, and let's look at some of the facts about what he's saying, and try not to get whooped up into tribalism, and try to just discern, well, is it true? Is it true? What to do? What to do?
Tesla CEO Elon Musk never shies away from causing controversy or just talking about it. And that was the case when he sat down with CNBC anchor David Faber for a wide-ranging interview.
We want to start off with Musk's reaction when he was asked about conspiracy theories. Take a listen.
Let's talk a bit about your tweets.
We've talked about this interview before on Rumble. Have a look at all of our stuff over there. This interview's...
Oh, yeah, he does some Rumble promotion. Let me just fast forward through that. Sorry. Okay.
Some who would call others conspiracy theories.
At this point, and let me know if you agree with this in the chat, the term conspiracy theory could be understood to mean information that the mainstream don't really want you talking about. The main conspiracy theory that we report on, as a matter of fact, is that powerful government and corporate interests collaborate in order to subvert democracy. We've got some evidence, though, so it's not a total conspiracy.
Yes, but I mean, honestly, you know, some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
Which ones?
Well, like the Hunter Biden laptop.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the Hunter Biden
laptop story. So notice how, again, see how they still refer to it as like this conspiracy thing. The Hunter Biden laptop story, which was first published by the New York Post, and that was shared on Twitter. Remember, the Twitter files revealed to us that those government agencies came in and said, suppress that story. This is why more people didn't find out about it at that point in time. But the New York Post story was correct. Let's also remember that Glenn Greenwald wanted to write about the Hunter Biden laptop story in The Intercept. And The Intercept told Glenn Greenwald, no, you can't publish that story. So there was manufactured consent in a way to make sure that Joe Biden remained pretty squeaky clean as possible so that he could win. And any type of story, whether it was the Tara Reade story, whether it was the Hunter Biden laptop story, that would make Joe Biden look terrible, it was suppressed, or the people who reported the story or came forward were smeared. They were said they were not credible sources, right? Or they would say, oh, this is actually just some type of Russian interference here. That's what they said about the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was Russia. Let's go on.
Laptop story is important for a number of reasons. One, its release at the time when it was uncovered may have affected the outcome of an election. Two, some of the information on that laptop pertains to the financial dealings of the Biden family, possibly even Joe Biden himself, allegedly. What we're interested in is the management of reality and how the mainstream media functions as a propaganda unit, ensuring that you're only exposed to certain information and denied access to other information, and that is always expedient to their desired outcomes. Elon Musk, like Donald Trump before him, even if you have a distaste for aspects of their nature, are important because they are powerful enough and influential enough to be a bull in the china shop of the neoliberal establishment. Even if you dislike Trump, or even if you dislike Elon Musk, clearly they are doing something that outrages the mainstream, I would suggest, because of the way the mainstream keeps attacking them. Let me know if you agree in the chat.
I just want to chime in here for just a second. Let's all remember that he said Elon Musk did vote for Joe Biden. So it's not like Elon Musk supported Donald Trump in 2020 and then said, okay, let's look into that Hunter Biden laptop story. Let's get more information out about that. No, he supported Joe Biden. He supported the Democratic Party. I think that bothers them even more.
Pretty big deal. There was Twitter and others engaged in active suppression of information that was relevant to the public. That's a terrible thing that happened. That's election interference.
But how do you make a choice? You don't see, I mean...
At that point, Michael Cera, Owlman, could look to the great, vast news organization around him and say, should we make some changes? Should we try to objectively look at information and look at the likely outcome of reporting or not reporting on particular stories? The mainstream media immediately just rolls past that point and on to inquiring along the same lines. Whether it's the cause of our inflation, the cause of the pandemic, the cause of the current war, only one side of the story is told. And do you notice that the side of the story that's told allows governments to regulate and powerful business interests to do powerful business?
I mean, for example, even today, Elon, you tweeted this thing about George Soros. Well, I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I quote it properly.
Yeah, because the mainstream media, they've got to be responsible for the way they tell stories.
You basically...
It reminds me of Magneto. This is like, calm down, people. This is not like made a federal case out of it.
You also you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like, when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it?
Elon Musk is obviously powerful.
Did you hear what he just said? That's the dangerous part. So he's criticizing Elon Musk, and I have many criticisms of Elon, but he's criticizing Elon Musk because of a tweet that Elon Musk made about George Soros, criticizing George Soros. And Elon Musk says, well, that's his opinion. Well, the reporter says, but why share it? Do you see how far this is going with censorship? You see how far this is going? You can't share your opinion? Would it have been okay if it wasn't George Soros and he made that comment about someone else? Maybe someone that donates to the Republican Party. Maybe someone who's a Republican politician. Someone who is not connected with the Democratic Party. Would it have been okay then? Probably. But not George Soros. Don't criticize him because he gives a lot of money to the Democratic Party. That's what this is really about. But this is where we're at now. Why share it, he says. Aye.
Powerful enough to actually be himself. What an incredible advantage that is in a world that increasingly wants to inhibit and prohibit who you are. I don't think that freedom, or indeed freedom of speech, means the ability to be horrible to one another, but it does mean the ability to speak openly and freely. Now, with the case of George Soros, it's clear that what is being alleged is that in criticizing George Soros, Elon Musk is being anti-Semitic because of George Soros's Judaism. But more significant, as far as I'm concerned, than the particular religion or race of an individual is this. in the case of George Soros. He was the largest donor in the midterms. He donated $128.5 million to supporting Democratic candidates. That is what's important about George Soros. He donated a significant amount of money to the Democratic Party. That's a powerful and influential figure. I think investigating and interrogating what is expected in return for that $128 million does not mean that you're engaged in prejudicial or bigoted behavior, because prejudice by its nature is an attack on a group of individuals, and if it's an attack on an individual, you could say that there are subtle dog whistle tricks being used. But what we're talking about here is power. Power. George Soros doesn't donate $128.5 million to the Democrat Party for no reason at all. He does it for a reason.
That's right. And what are those Democrat politicians doing in favor for George Soros? What are they doing to get that money? Do you think he just woke up one day and said, I think you guys are nice people, I'm just going to give you a bunch of money, and ask for nothing in return? That's not how politics works. George Soros.
What is the reason? Is the reason to assert control? Is it to direct the Democrat Party? Is that interesting to you? Is it nothing? Why is that line of inquiry immediately shut down? Perhaps the mainstream media could nullify this problem by saying, we are going to investigate all billionaire donors to both political parties and see how their influence plays out when it comes to administration and legislation in the terms that follow the campaigns that they donated to. The religion and race should not be relevant. Racism is foolish and it's a waste of time. It is not a foolish waste of time to investigate the impact of donations on the way that a country is run, particularly when it's purportedly a democratic republic.
Why share it? Especially, why share it when people who buy Teslas may not agree with you? Advertisers on Twitter may not agree with you.
What's fascinating about this is we're watching the mainstream media try to apply censorship to Elon Musk.
Let me make something very clear here. So because some of his customers may not agree with him, he shouldn't share his opinion. This goes for anybody, not just Elon Musk. Because some of your customers may disagree with your opinion, you shouldn't share it. You see what he's trying to do? Oh, let's add in a little bit of fear here. Advertisers and your customers may not like what you're saying here, so maybe you shouldn't share it. You think Elon Musk is sitting back home worried like, oh man, I might lose some money? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Elon Musk is all set. Okay. I think he's good to go.
Responsible for the share prices of Tesla. You are meant to be neutral and objective on Twitter. Who now believes that when Musk took over Twitter, the sturm, drang and hysteria that surrounded it was because of, oh no, this guy is going to be really influential in Twitter and he's going to make it bad, rather than we control Twitter and once he takes over, we're not going to control Twitter? Which seems more likely to you, looking at the Twitter file revelations, for example, and how we now understand that social media and the government, big tech more broadly, and various government agencies and even global agencies use social media to convey messaging that would otherwise be impossible, would certainly be impossible if there was a gatekeeper that just didn't agree with them. Even if you don't like Elon Musk, I would say, again, as with all these stories, extract the subject and just look at your own values and principles. Look at what's actually happening. It's one of the tools to personal awakening.
Why not just say, hey, I think this. You can tell me, we can talk about it over there, you can tell your friends, but why share it widely?
The line of questioning here, why can't you just say that to someone in private? Why post it on social media? The fuck? Really?
I mean, this is freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say what I want.
You absolutely are, but I'm trying to understand why you do, because you have to know it puts you in the middle of the partisan divide in the country. It makes you a lightning rod.
What did I tell you? See, this is what it's really about. He mentioned the partisan divide, right? Elon Musk explains that it's free speech. He's allowed to do that. So the reporter goes, well, you absolutely are, but, and it's that but that I want you to hold on to. He goes on to explain that this can make you a part of a partisan divide. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that if was not George Soros, someone who gives a lot of money to the Democratic Party, they wouldn't have a problem with this. You want to know the reason why why the status quo on both sides, by the way, why they're so adamant against, no, there shouldn't be billionaires. You know why they're so against that? Because both of those parties depend on them. They depend on them. Those same billionaires fund the media, whether it's Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, whether it's Larry Fink, who owns BlackRock, and BlackRock shareholders with some of these media networks. So they control the media. The media backs the status quo narrative from the State Department. Those status quo politicians depend on that media to get their message across and for people to support them. If you take out the billionaires, you're going to see a lot of problems in reference to how politics works in this country. Why do you guys think they're so against this? This is why when Bernie Sanders was traveling across the country saying there should be no billionaires, they're like, oh, God, this message is so incredibly dangerous. Yes, because your network depends on them. What a mess. Jeez.
Odd for criticism. I mean, do you like that? People today saying he's an anti-Semite. I don't think you are.
No, I'm definitely. I'm like a pro-Semite, if anything.
I believe that probably is the case.
Yes.
But why would you even introduce the idea then?
That's extraordinary.
See?
Because he's not introducing that idea. That idea has been subsequently introduced. To what end? Remember, Elon Musk was criticized for being anti-Ukrainian and not supporting Ukraine enough, and was able to reveal that he donated 100 million. Really, the organization that needs to be inventoried and scrutinized is not Elon Musk, it's the mainstream media. You need to ask the mainstream media these questions. Why do you report these stories? Why don't you report these stories? Why do you highlight that information? Why have you ignored that? Why have you exaggerated that? Where do you get your funding from? Why do you have these experts and not these experts? Why was that information suppressed and that information highlighted? That is the kind of inventory, the kind of audit that needs to take place. Elon Musk, powerful though he is not like the blanket that encompasses the globe when it comes to the shared agenda of the corporately owned or state-owned media in maintaining systemic control. And I include within that the vague and, in my view, irrelevant fluctuations that take place in a bipartisan democracy. Oh, this bit of the media likes them, this bit of the media likes them. Which part of the media says they're both corrupt? Well, this is great fun, isn't it? But it's not paying us a single penny. How on earth am I going to keep myself in elaborate gowns if the algorithm keeps directing you to CNN and MSNBC and Fox through our sponsors? I'll make it funny. Stay with us. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Today's show.
And then the sponsorship comes in. But the point that I want to add about all of this that I think is really important is the fact that it has gotten to the point now where anything that, whether it's the State Department, mainstream media, anything that goes outside of that status quo, they can just write it off as that's a conspiracy. Don't listen to it, even if the story is true. And then the people who are sharing that information, whether it's Elon Musk with the Twitter files, whether it was Matt Taibbi, right? Look how they came after Matt Taibbi. Whether it's, what's his name? Lee Fong, whether it's Lee Fong, whether any of these journalists, Michael Schellenberger that worked on the Twitter files, whether it's someone like Russell Brand, whether it's someone like Jimmy Dore, any of these people that go against what the status quo talking points are supposed to be, you are seen as a problem. And how do you fix a problem? How do you fix a problem that's a mouthpiece? You try to censor it. So these are just dangerous talking points for him to tell someone, why would you say that? Oh, yeah, you have free speech, but maybe you should have said that in private. What's the difference between saying it to someone in private and saying it on social media? You're still saying it. This is where we're headed now. This is where we're headed. Let me get through the sponsorship part. Then we'll get to the next part. Sponsor. This part right here.
And the truth together. Let us investigate. That's not the mentality. The mentality is attack, attack, attack on behalf of the system. Destroy, destroy, destroy on behalf of the system.
You link to somebody who's talking about the guy who in a mall in Allen, Texas. And you say something like it might be a bad psyop. I'm not quite sure what you meant, but
The company that found this is Bellingcat.
right,
And you know what Bellingcat does? Psyops.
right. And that's a debate you want to get into on Twitter?
Yes.
Yes, Elon Musk is allowed to get into debates. You're allowed to get into debates. We are allowed to have conversations. We're allowed to. To prevent conversation, you have to start from the assumption that people are malevolent and that there is and ought be a central authority that should control your debate. Once you say there is no central authority, I do not yield to any central authority. I have my own relationship with morality and values, my own principles, and I will use them as my guide, not systems that I know already to be corrupt because of the way they've behaved. Then you are free from this. Here's a little bit more information on Bellingcat. This is from Aaron.
And then we'll pause it there because that goes into another discussion. But one of the things that I wanted to say is, again, he says, why even share it or discuss it on Twitter? Why does it matter what platform he chose to use? That's just an excuse. That's just an excuse. If he would have said it on Facebook, he would have said, why did you share it on Facebook? The point is, they don't want you to talk at all. They don't want you to express your opinion that is going to be different or may give shock and awe value to people who are totally tuned in to CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, and they only know these mainstream media talking points. They don't want you to say anything that is outside of the status quo. That is the point. Obviously, that reporter isn't going to say it the way that I just said it, but that's exactly what they're trying to do. And it's a problem. This is why they're smearing people like Russell Brand, saying that he's secretly right wing. That's why they did that to Matt Taibbi. This is why they do it to Jimmy Dore. Some people do this to me as well. And I'm just like, whatever, you're an idiot. But this is why. Anything that they can do to get people to take their eyes off of what these people are saying and just become sheep again and go back into the herd. That's what it's about. What's going on? Dan says, killing it, Sabs. I know Russell would want you on reach out. I do not know how to reach out. I know other people have told me this as well. I actually have no idea how to reach out to him or contact him. Ali says, Musk is part of the system. He has government contracts. Yes, he does. And we're going to get into that in just a second in this next story, actually. The Ron DeSantis story. And Terry says they are all in bed together, Sabby. Yes, they are. They're all in bed together.